As you might know by now, I'm obsessed with the iPhone. And one of the most common questions I got asked is, how do you make your content stand out like that? So these pictures you just saw and these videos are all taken with this one device, the iPhone. What is the secret? I already shared multiple times in different shorts which settings I'm using, how I use the native camera app of the iPhone, but people just keep asking for a more detailed video. Well, there's one thing you already know. I always use the iPhone camera. This is not only what I want, but also the challenge I want to face. And let's be honest, just having a device in our pocket is the best way to portray an object or a person or a specific moment you want immediately. You can use pretty much any iPhone. We're still using the iPhone 13 Pro. This video, for example, is shot on the iPhone 14 Pro and it does a marvelous job. So I want to share the settings I'm using that works best for creating the content of AppleDsign. Also take you through the native camera app and show some editing to spice up your pictures. Apple keeps improving the iPhone camera each year and they're also adding new features. So I like to test the different features and see what works best for me and my content. Normally you should also have access to all these features, but if you have a pretty old iPhone, this might not always be the case. Let's go. So before taking videos and pictures, we have to go to our camera settings, go to settings, and in settings we head over to camera. Here we get a full list of options we can choose from and we can change. One of the most important ones is record video. I have this at 1080p and 60 frames per second. I shoot basically all my content in this format. As you can see over here, Apple has listed the details of every setting. The main reason why I film at 1080p and 60 frames per second is that the file sizes are much smaller than filming in 4K, and so really think 4K isn't really necessary as Instagram and most other platforms only support 1080p. However, YouTube does support 4K, but 1080p is quick, it's easy, and also for post-processing in Final Cut Pro, much easier to handle at this point. The PAL formats, I have this turned off. Enhanced stabilization is an interesting one. You want to definitely turn this on as it will help to get your footage as stable as possible. This makes a massive difference when filming with and without enhanced stabilization on. Action mode, low power light, I have it turned off. HDR video, you can turn on HDR, which stands for high dynamic range, as it will give this nice luminous look. An example of what that looks like. I rarely use this for my content, but I have experienced that viewing and editing with this video format can be a headache. In addition, it also takes up a lot of space. Auto frames per second is on auto 30 and 60 frames per second. Lock camera, when turned on, you cannot switch between the different camera lenses, and when turned off, this means that you can still switch between the different lenses, ultra wide, wide, while recording. I will turn this on as I don't want my iPhone camera to switch between lenses while recording. Lock white balance, I will turn this on. So when I feel something still, for example an unboxing or myself, I want to lock the white balance. That way the iPhone camera will not be affected by different lighting, for example by a rotating sun or clouds. And if you want, you can copy all these settings back to camera. Slow motion recording, I have it like so. I rarely use this feature. Next, record cinematic. As for my content, I'm not really using it that much. It can be nice to have a more focused video. I have this set to 1080p and 30 frames per second. Now we go to one of the most important sections, which is formats. Formats is where you can really make the difference. Camera capture refers to the file format and size you want to capture your footage in. I have the camera capture at the most compatible. This makes sure that our iPhone camera isn't compressing our photos and keeping it as natural as possible. It's interesting, when getting a new iPhone, this is always set to high efficiency. So make sure to turn on most compatible. And one of the most important features here to take high quality pictures is the Apple Pro RAW. I have this turned on. On the newest iPhone models, you have the option to switch between between JPEG Max, ProRAW 12 megapixel or ProRAW Max. I always have ProRAW Max turned on. The reason for this is that pictures should definitely be in the highest quality. We want the highest resolution possible. Why else have an iPhone camera? Yes, this will take up a little bit more space, but trust me, it's worth it. And a little tip is to always use the back camera. It's obvious knowing that all the sophisticated lenses are on the back side of the camera. Video capture, I have Apple ProRes on. I'm not always using this, but for some content I want to showcase the difference. That's why I have it turned on. Now let's go back to camera. Let's head over to preserved settings. Here we can find a long list of certain camera options to be preserved in the native camera app. The aim is that you don't have to go back and forward all the time between features in the camera app. We really want to avoid that hassle. One of the reasons is that you want to stay consistent with your iPhone photography. Keeping it the way you like will save you a lot of time. Camera mode obviously turned on. Creative controls, I have that turned off. Depth control also turned off. Macro control, I have it turned on. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I don't use it, but it's pretty handy to have it in the native camera app. Exposure adjustment, I will turn that on. This will preserve the exposure adjustments rather than automatically resetting it all the time. Night mode, I have it turned off. Portrait zoom, I have it turned on. Action mode, turn that on. Not really using it that much, sometimes for certain videos. ProRAW and resolution control, I have this turned off. Apple ProRes, you can also turn this on. Basically, all the settings over here are more or less personal. Turn on what's best for you and what you use the most. Let's go back to camera. Record stereo sound, I have this turned on. As the iPhone has a mic on the top and on the bottom, you can record also in mono, but I prefer to record in stereo. Use the volume up for a burst. This means you're taking multiple pictures in one click and you can pick the one you like the most. Scan QR code, I have this turned on. Show detected text, I have this also turned on. It's really handy for copying text on an image and maybe translate it. The composition section, this is a really important section. This will help improving the way we shoot videos and take photos with our iPhone. It basically creates some guide while using the iPhone camera. Definitely turn these on. The grid, this will create the lines on the screen to get a subject or person better in frame. The level feature has come with the new iOS 17. This is the line in the middle to get a more straight photo or video. This is something Apple could have implemented much earlier, but happy we have it now. This is key as it will make it much easier taking videos or photos. And here are some other options you can toggle on. I have them like so. Now we head over to the native camera app. So first of all, here we have the different focal lengths. I 90% of the time use the 1x zoom, just the default camera. This is the most powerful one of the iPhone. Over here we have the action mode if we want to film in action mode. 1080p is, as I said, my go-to. You can also switch it to 4K, 60 frames per second, 24 frames per second, or 30 frames per second. I have this set to 1080p and 60 frames per second. And we have our different modes: cinematic mode, slow motion mode. We can take a time lapse. I rarely use this. Go in portrait mode when we would like to take a picture of somebody. I have to say that the iPhone portrait photos are pretty impressive, but for now we'll stay at photo mode. If we swipe up, we get different settings we can adjust. The flashlight, I have the flashlight turned off. Taking a picture during the night can be useful to turn it on. This is the live photo feature. A live photo is basically a little video, and many people really use this feature a lot. You can get some interesting results using this feature. We can change the filter. I'm not using that one at all. However, this is the crop feature, a really important one. For our Instagram, we try to alternate between 4:3 and 60:9, and sometimes we even use the square, which is 1:1. With regards of shooting our thumbnails for YouTube, we want to have this on 16:9, as this is the aspect ratio that is used by the platform. When making Instagram stories, you also want to have this set on 16:9. Exposure. You can change your exposure by swiping left and right. I don't change it that often, but I personally think the iPhone camera is a bit too overexposed. Turning this down around -0.4 could give the outcome you want. You might want to experiment a little bit and see what works best for you. Next we have the timer. You can turn on 3 seconds or 10 seconds. Pretty useful when shooting videos or photos on your own. And here we have some filter features. I don't touch this. I always keep this on the default one. Then one of the most important features which we have been talking about and will really make a difference is the Pro RAW feature. Turn this on when taking your pictures, as your photos will be in the highest resolution, and that is what we want. Just to go a little bit more in depth about Pro RAW, this combines the information of a standard RAW format along with iPhone image processing to offer additional creative control when you make adjustments to exposure, color and white balance. It essentially gives you a flat image with not a lot of post-processing on it, and this is perfect to further edit in any app or on your computer, which we will talk about in a second. To summarize, here are some takeaways. Get the preserved settings you want when opening the camera app. You don't want to open the app and change a bunch of things all the time. We want to be efficient. You don't want to digitally process your pictures too much. Always try to make your source as good as possible. A tip for taking pictures with your iPhone is that having a lot of light or daylight will always help with the end result. So now we're gonna edit some pictures. I took my iPhone 13 Pro to show you it's possible to edit on the iPhone 12 Pro, 13 Pro, 14 Pro, 15 Pro, or basically any iPhone you'd like. So we just want to bump up our pictures, and the app we are using is Lightroom. It's a free app and it will significantly improve the outcome of your picture. And I already tell you that you're gonna be blown away by the results you're getting just by simply tweaking certain settings in the Lightroom app. Here are some examples: before and after, before and after, before and after, before and after. So let me show you how I did this. You can enhance your pictures from the get-go in Lightroom, but what I would advise is to start with a preset, and here are some before and after photos I already made using our AppleDsign LUT presets. You can get these in the description. These are just presets we have created and used for our pictures. This isn't necessary, but will save you time when editing your pictures in Lightroom. So I always start by selecting one of our presets, and then I make just subtle changes. This is the before, this is the after. We accept this preset. We head over to the light section, change the exposure the way you want. We're gonna set it a bit lower. Contrast was actually quite okay. The highlights, turn this a bit more neutral. Shadows are okay. The whites also. The blacks, we're gonna turn them a tad down. Next we head over to color. We can change the temperature of our image. We want to keep it a bit more blue, like so. If you press and hold the screen, you can see the difference. Vibrant was quite okay. You just make all kind of subtle changes to get the result you want. Clarity, I will turn it down as I usually do. Vignette, maybe slightly to give a bit more focus to the two iPhones. Next we head over to detail, sharpening about 50, and we won't change anything more. And now let's look the before and after. It's already much better. Next, if you want to export your image, we head over to the little symbol in the top over there. Here you can export it, choose your file type. I'll choose JPEG. Image quality, I will set this to 100%. Hit the check mark and you're good to go. And here is another example. to give you some takeaways, make subtle changes, keep the nature of the picture, and press and hold the screen to watch the before and after. We shot our pictures on an iPhone and we edited it in Lightroom with some insane results. It almost looked like these images are shot with a DSLR or mirrorless camera. Some useful tips to keep in mind: make sure your settings are right before shooting with your iPhone. Take a proper picture in the iPhone camera app in ProRAW and make subtle editing changes in Lightroom or another editing app or software of your choice. So if you want, you can get our lot presets in the description below, and just go out there, take some videos, take some pictures and share them on your socials. If you want to get even more out of your iPhone camera and want to learn some hidden iPhone camera features, make sure to click on this video over here. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, make sure to put them in the comments, like, subscribe, and I see you in the next one.